It's Memorial Day weekend here in New England, and it is a perfect time for beach roses, otherwise known as Rosa rugosa. So I'll show you what they look like in the area that I'm in. I'm in a coastal area right now by the beach. They're very common here, but you also find them inland all over the place. So this is a great flower. It's beautiful. It smells incredibly fragrant. And it's great because you can use the flower, which I'll show you how to do now, and you can also use the hip, which is the more nutritious part of the plant, later on in the summer and into the fall and even into the winter. So let me show you what they look like. Not hard to spot in coastal New England. They're growing here along the dunes. Beautiful pink flowers all over the place, also white. You also find them white, growing among the sea grasses. These are holding the dunes together. So when you're foraging, you do not want to disturb the dunes. You don't want to be stepping in the middle of the dune in order to forage. But luckily, there are lots of them right along the path. Now, the plant is very easy to identify. It looks like a rose. It has these very dark green creased leaves and the classic rose flower. So you can see the buds. These are brilliant pink. They have the yellow centers, and they're also growing white. All right, so one of my favorite things to do with rose petals is to make this syrup. Rose petal syrup. It's beautiful. It's a very beautiful color, and you can use it in lots of different things, so it's really multifunctional. I make a couple things with it. One thing to do is just put it in like a soda water or a seltzer water. It makes a really nice soda. You can also add it to cocktails or put a little bit on the bottom of your glass of champagne or whatever sparkling wine you have. It's really nice that way too. I also make a lassi with it, which is really good. I put the syrup in with frozen or fresh raspberries, a little bit of yogurt or kefir, and some pistachio, and blend that all up, and it's delicious. The last thing I've done is I've made a baklava with it, which was great. So I made baklava with pistachios, and I substituted about half the honey with the rose syrup, and it had a lovely flavor and was not overpowering. It does taste fairly strong. It tastes like the roses smell. You want really fragrant roses to make this, but it's delicious. So I highly recommend it. So the way you get started, you want to start with your rose petals, fresh rose petals. I don't wash them. I just put them in some hot water. So these are ones that I started yesterday. And what you want to do is make an infusion, which just means that you steep the rose petals in hot water. And you want to let them sit for a while so that all of the oils and the flavor can come out. So yeah, about 24 hours on this. I started it just on the counter. I covered it, and then I put it in the refrigerator overnight so it wouldn't spoil. And to this, you're going to make a simple syrup or a richer simple syrup. So you're going to add sugar to this in a double boiler. You want to heat it up with either a 1-to-1 ratio of sugar to water, or for a richer one, a 2-to-1 ratio, two sugars to one of the liquid. So, and then you'll strain the entire thing together. To do the original infusion, I used a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's very flexible. So I think this is 2 cups of rose petals, and to that I added 2 cups of boiling water, and then I let it steep. But you can do it however you like, and it'll turn out great. To make the syrup, I'm gonna put a pot of hot water on the stove, heat it up. I'm gonna take some kind of non-reactive pot like stainless steel, put it inside, or you could use a double boiler. Then into that, you're gonna pour the entire contents of your rose mixture. And you can see already the color has come out of those roses, and it's really beautiful. And I'm going to add, depending on the kind of syrup I want to make, I will add either the same amount of sugar as liquid or twice the sugar. So that's about 2 cups of liquid. I'm going to add, let's see, that's a cup, at least 2 cups of sugar. It probably will last a little bit longer if you make it 2 sugar to 1 liquid, but it'll be obviously sweeter. So I'm gonna do this one, and you're gonna give it a stir. So your goal is to get this whole thing to come up to a high enough temperature so that all of the sugar dissolves in the syrup. once all the sugar, it doesn't have to boil or anything in particular. Once the sugar is all dissolved in there, you're done. You're ready to go, and you'll strain out the rose petals. So, but it'll take a while to get up to temperature. So I'm just gonna let that sit and do its thing till it comes up to temperature. So what you're looking for as you cook this down is you want to dissolve all the sugar crystals. So usually you can see the sugar along the side of the bowl. As long as there are still granules of sugar, it's not syrup yet. So you want to keep on cooking it down. I've read that if it doesn't completely dissolve, you could add a little bit of lemon juice, but I've never had that problem. Sometimes when you're doing things like this, you take if you want to make sure that there's no sugar crystals, you can take a wet brush and brush down the sides of the bowl to make sure all the crystals are submerged. If you leave sugar crystals in your syrup, it's much more likely that it will crystallize when it's in the jar. So you want to get them all dissolved in there. Now the way to tell if you're done, and I don't think I'm done, is to take a little bit in your fingers, rub it between your fingers. When you can feel no more granules of sugar, you're probably at syrup stage. But I like to try that a couple times to make sure that I'm really there. You also don't want to overcook this because the essence of the rose, the oils and things, will evaporate on boiling. So you want to kind of do it until it's just dissolved and heated through, but don't get it so hot that all of your scent goes into the air. This is almost done. So once your sugar is completely dissolved in your syrup, you want to strain out the petals. So I'm going to take a stainless steel strainer and just pour my syrup with the petals directly in there, and then you are done. That's all there is to it. So I would probably let this sit and strain out for a little while. Make sure it smells incredible. You'll be able to smell that rose. It's very, very fragrant. So my bowl is a little bit shallow. It'd be better if I had a deeper bowl. But you want to let this strain out. If you press out the syrup, that's fine. It may make it a little bit cloudier, but I haven't had a problem with that before. So I'm just going to press out the extra syrup. And then you're left with this lovely rose syrup. Now I'm going to bottle this into bottles, but it will retain this lovely color, and it smells incredible and it's delicious. It will, I've heard not to can this because it could lose some of its scent and flavor. I've never tried that before, but it keeps in the refrigerator for over a year. So a great product. I highly recommend it.